What up, guys? Carolina Jackpot coming at you. It is August the 14th, 2019, and we're a mere 10 days away from the kickoff of college football season. Week 0 is coming on August the 24th. A couple of really good games that day. Miami Hurricanes versus the Florida Gators. Those two going to tee it up in Orlando at the neutral site. And then way out in the Pacific Ocean, you've got Arizona versus Hawaii. The Arizona Wildcats make the trip way out west to take on the Rainbow Warriors. I'm looking forward to seeing that one. I like to see a lot of offense in a game. I'm sure you'll see it from Hawaii and Arizona as well. So a couple of really good games there. Talking about the channel, what we got going on this week, Carolina Jackpot's actually going to be leaving this afternoon to take a 4-day little vacation for Monday of next week. I'm actually joining like a new team at work, so work schedule is going to be a lot different than what it is right now. I'm not going to be able to make these videos during the day anymore. I've already got my 2019 South Carolina final pick and prediction video. It's in the can, and that one will be posted here in the next few days. Just make sure you keep your bell clicked so that you get the Carolina Jackpot video notifications, and you can see that one coming where I think that's going to head. But I won't be really able to do any more pick and prediction videos for the teams. They just take too long for me to do. But don't fear, when things get going back with this new schedule, as you know, every year we do these picks against the spread. Normally I'm trying to do every game on the board. I haven't done every game on the board in the past. I've only done like 20 of them this year. I'm going to try to do every game on the board, picks against the spread. People really like these videos, and I'm going to keep them coming for you. So don't worry about that, and I'm going to try this year as much as possible as that work schedule allows. I am going to live stream the South Carolina Gamecock game, so you'll get to see, my live reaction to, great plays, piss-poor plays, my elation, my anger. You get to see it all. It'll be wonderful. We'll have a great time live streaming some games. I really tend to get into them, sometimes a little bit too much, but we're going to do that this year as well. So a lot of good things coming in the future. A lot of good things coming. So today I want to go on ahead and talk about the Georgia Bulldogs, a team I have a love-hate relationship with, and our neighbors one state over. Always a thorn in the side of the Gamecocks, it seems like. Always a thorn in our side, pretty much. But it is what it is, and let's talk about them for 2019. Of course, in 2018, they were 11-3. Finished up kind of disappointing. Lost the SEC championship game to Alabama, a game that you should have won, a game that you had won. I think that that deflated kind of attitude probably from losing that game carried over into your Sugar Bowl game against Texas. Not a good performance at all. You lost 28-21 in a game that really wasn't that close. And I made that statement earlier on the summer in a video when I was talking about Texas. And I had a Georgia Bulldog fan down in the comment section talking about, it was that close too. And we could have won that game if X, Y, Z, blah, blah, blah had happened. No, it wasn't. Just, go on ahead and accept the fact you got your butt whooped. We got our butt whooped in our bowl game too, and I'm not offering up any excuses about it. The only thing I'll say about us getting our butt whooped in our bowl games, I think that things would have been different had our best player, Deebo Samuel, actually completed his mission at the University of South Carolina and played in that game. But he didn't. It's water under the bridge. It's 2019 now. It's not 2018 anymore. Nothing we can do to go back and change it. The team was 8-4-2 against the number last year. Kirby Smart enters his 4th season as the head man in Athens, got a 32-10 overall record. Those 10 losses, though, that's a little bit deceiving because most of those were in the 2016 season. Not too many losses since then. And recruiting, I mean, it can't get much better. You were number 1 2018. Your 2019 class was number 2. Currently, you're number 5 in the 2020 class, but there's a ways to go until that will be wrapped up. Obviously, I don't think anybody's going to catch Clemson for the number 1 spot this year. They've got so many 5-stars you can't hardly count them all, but I'm sure you'll be right there in the mix. I like to go back and watch a team's last game before I make one of these pick and prediction videos. I can talk about it a little bit, see what kind of mood is going into the season. And I mean, let's just face it, that Sugar Bowl game, it didn't look like the same team. Did not look like the same team. Kind of deflated there a little bit. Kind of maybe a little bit of a lackadaisical attitude, and you'll have that tremendous letdown there in the SEC championship game, which said, a game that y'all should have won. Kirby Smart, I've been watching some of his interviews on YouTube during the after practice sessions or whatever, and it's kind of funny. He takes a breath after he says the sentence. We had ones going against ones. We had and then there's twos out there going against the twos. And I've seen some good things from Zamir. Of course, I was impressed with what Jake done today. What are you doing? Quit sucking on them Marlboros, sir. What are you doing out there? I'm just kidding. Anyway, at any rate, Jake Fromm, 30 touchdowns, 6 interceptions last year. Game manager, team manager, is doing a great job coming in. It's his true junior year. A lot of people think that Jake's going to go high in the NFL draft next year. I'm of that party as well. Depth's an issue, though, if he goes down. In the unfortunate circumstance, if that happens, there is nobody who has actually taken a snap for Georgia at the quarterback position. If he goes down to injuries, you got young kids, Stetson Bennett, I believe is his name, that is a backup there. And then there's another young kid that came in with the 2019 class that could back him up as well. Can these guys be a game manager if they come in, if they get shoved in a hostile situation? Say you're on the road losing to Tennessee and Jake Fromm goes down and you got to put one of those guys in. Are they going to be ready? I think they'll have them ready. I really do think they will. I think this James Coley guy is a good offensive coordinator, and we'll make some decent moves there, make it happen to make sure these guys are ready to go in the unfortunate circumstances they would have to come in and take care of the ball. At the running back position, I mean, you really can't say enough about this. Number 1 last year in the SEC, you were number 16 overall nationally, which I thought was kind of surprising that you weren't higher than that. However, you did throw the ball around a little bit more last year than maybe what Georgia does on a normal basis. DeAndre Swift, widely regarded as one of the best running backs in the country, if not the best. 1,049 yards on the ground last year and 10 touchdowns. But the ball was spread around a little bit. I mean, you got to look at it and say, well, there was a lot more eye-popping numbers from the guy at Wisconsin, Jonathan Taylor, and then Travis Etienne at Clemson, but they don't spread the ball around as much in those places as what Georgia does normally. I mean, it's just like a 10-headed monster at the running back position every year. You do return Brian Harrion, also had 3 touchdowns last year. James Cook, 2 touchdowns last year. Cook had the highest yards per carry of anybody on your team, and I think he has a tremendous, tremendous upside. This guy came in with a lot of accolades, and I'm interested to see what he does this year, too. Zamir White, young kid from Scotland High School, Scotland County High up there in Laurinburg, North Carolina. Looking forward to see what he does this year. It looks like he has been really getting after it in practice. Of course, this is a kid that was injured, must have been senior year in high school, and was injured early on last year in your fall camp and didn't play. So he'll be coming in, I'm assuming as a freshman, just tearing it up right now in practice. So I'm interested to see what he can do for you. I guess he'd be the number 4 person in your rotation right now. But I ought to see him get some snaps, and you've got some games early on in the season where he definitely has an opportunity to get some snaps. Your wide receiver position, a lot of people are talking about that one as being possibly a weak spot. Well, you've got to replace your top 5 wide receivers, top 5 receivers from last year. No team that's ever made the playoffs like that. No team's ever made the playoffs having to replace that much production at the wide receiver position. Can you be the first team to do it? You're going to have to try to do so. You have a 5-star Demetrius Robertson, kid who transferred in and played last year, who was a former 5-star from Cal. Last year had a little bit of trouble adjusting to UGA's system. He didn't play a whole lot. When he did, it was largely ineffective. He had like 1 or 2 big plays, I think. They've been working with him. James Coley been working with Robertson to get him up to speed. Lawrence Cager comes in. That's a graduate transfer from Miami. We'll see what he can do. I don't know that he always had the best quarterback talent working around him down there. And then, of course, George Pickens is a kid that's coming in. He's a 5-star wide receiver who's coming in this year as a true freshman. He's been looking good, made an outstanding play on, I think it was Saturday, in your scrimmage game. And one of your defensive backs made the quote that he plays like A.J. Green. I'm sure that young defensive back of yours played against A.J. Green plenty of times to know that. I'm just kidding. But, yeah, he does look very good, looks athletic. And the big thing about your wide receivers, got to be able to block downfield. This kind of running game that y'all got, you have to be able to make those downfield blocks to keep the lanes clear for DeAndre Swift, for Zeus, Zamir White, James Cook. These guys can break away on some long runs as long as they're doing their job on 1st and 2nd down, blocking downfield. I think that would probably be most likely the main job of a wide receiver in a Georgia-type offense. Of course, the offensive line, yeah, we can't say enough about that. You got 4 starters returning up there, widely regarded as the #1 unit in the country. You will not have a problem moving the ball with the offensive line that you've got in front of you. And the thing about that is you got a lot of depth behind those 2 kids, too, who are highly rated. You got some 4- and 5-star kids coming in there as well. Georgia always recruits well along the offensive line, and I have said it a million times that is, in my opinion, the key to building a good football team. That's the foundation right there. If you have a good offensive line, you can do a lot with that. It can mask a lot of deficiencies in other places if you have a good offensive line, and it seems like they always do, and they definitely are here under Kirby Smart. Defensively, last year, you're actually the number 13 unit in the country. So defensive coordinator Dan Lanning has most of his talent coming back there. Your defensive line, led by seniors Tyler Clark, Julian Rochester. These are some massive guys up there on the line of scrimmage. You're returning 5 of your 7 leading tacklers from last year. Richard LeCount, J.R. Reed, Monty Rice, Tay Crowder, Tyson Campbell. This unit is also deeper than last year. I don't look for any kind of drop-off in production, really, from that defensive position. Of course, your one young kid who was out there at corner last year, gone to the NFL. What was his name? Gosh, name escapes me. DeAndre Baker. Baker's gone, but that's really your only huge significant loss. And, of course, across the line, lost Jonathan Ledbetter up there. But with the recruiting that you guys have been doing, I have no doubt that you're going to replace him with somebody even better, or at least of the same caliber. And your special teams, we know your field goal kicking's in good shape. Rodrigo Blankenship last year, 65 of 65 extra points, was 19 of 23 on field goals with a long of 53. You really can't get a whole heck of a lot better than that. So, I mean, from top to bottom, a very talented roster, a very stacked roster. Now we're going to go to Carolina Jackpot's 2019 Georgia Bulldogs schedule. We're going to see where the wins are going to come, where the losses are going to come, and what I think the final record will be, and if you are going to exceed that Vegas number. All right, guys, 2019 Georgia Bulldogs slate. If you'll notice, I'm normally doing this on the Carolina Jackpot big board. However, for the purpose of this video, I just decided to do it on a nice sheet of computer-generated paper. Vanderbilt taking on the Commodores on the 31st of August. You open up the season in Nashville. It's going to be a 7:30 p.m. game, I believe, on the SEC network. And this is Georgia's first SEC opener since 1995. That was actually played in the first game of the season. Back in 1995, you actually beat my South Carolina Gamecocks 42 23 that year in Athens. I remember that game well, too. We actually had a lead by like 2 touchdowns in that game. That was when Steve Tannehill was the quarterback at South Carolina, for any of you history buffs that remember him. I know we got a lot of young people on here who don't remember who that was. But at any rate, I think Georgia's got too much talent and depth for Vanderbilt. A lot of people like to just take the season prediction, and they'll just pigeonhole Vanderbilt into that last spot just because it's Vanderbilt. I don't necessarily think so all the time. You are returning some good skill position talent. You got an excellent tight end coming back. You got Kalijah Lipscomb coming back out there at the wide receiver position, and Keyshawn Vaughn, who comes back at running back, is one of the best in the SEC, actually one of the most underrated backs in the SEC. Once again, people just don't think about him because he's at Vanderbilt. But Jared Pinkney's the name of that kid, plays tight end for them. However, the quarterback position could be an issue. It looks like it may be Riley Neal, who's going to be a graduate transfer coming in from Ball State. He's a dual threat type guy, which I've talked about this in the earlier videos. Vanderbilt really ain't had anybody like that lately. But he's coming from Ball State. I don't really know that he's been used to playing against SEC-type defenses, SEC-type speed. They're also young on defense and losing a lot of people over there on that side of the ball. You're favored by 21 points in this game. I don't know. He's working out the kinks the first week. I don't know if you're going to hit that number or not, but I do think you get the win in Nashville here and go 1-0 in that game. Georgia takes care of Vanderbilt. The next 2 games are ones that you should be getting in some repetitions for some of the younger players that you want to see what they can do, and some of these other 4 and 5 stars who aren't necessarily going to be starters. In that first game, Murray State at home, opener's automatic win, FCS school, and not even a very good one at that. The next week, Arkansas State, a little bit stiffer of a test than Murray State. Arkansas State finished up regular season 8-4 last year, lost their bowl game. They're in the Sun Belt Conference, and it is a team that's that conference with Troy and App State that is normally in contention for the title over there in that conference. Obviously, not going to be any challenge for Georgia really in that game, but I do think it to be a little bit stiffer than the Murray State contest. This is a game that I could see you winning 45-10, somewhere in that range. The Murray State one, I mean, you're going to win that by a lot to a little. I couldn't even begin to tell you. The next week, big one at home against Notre Dame. Game time actually hadn't been released for this one as yet. Last year, Notre Dame looked good on paper, didn't it? They looked good on paper, ended up season undefeated, 12-0. You had some really close wins early in the year against inferior teams, Ball State and Vanderbilt, which we talked about before, at home. In fact, should have lost to Vanderbilt at home. You made the switch there from Brandon Wimbush at quarterback to Ian Book, and looked a lot better for a couple of weeks against Wake Forest and someone else I can't exactly remember. But then down the stretch, you still struggled against some teams that weren't very good. Very, very, very close win at home against a Pitt team that, yes, they made the ACC championship game, but they still lost 6 games. USC, the Trojans, a 5-7 team last year, and it was a game that was within a touchdown. Notre Dame is a team that it just seems like last year they did just enough to get by and ended up getting into the playoffs. And then you got absolutely road graded by a Clemson team that I believe could have gotten a stiffer challenge from. There are several teams I think could have gotten them a stiffer challenge last year than the 30-3 debacle that you guys got into with them there. Just did not look good at all. This year, of course, Book comes back. You did have an impressive win against Syracuse last year, a team that a lot of people were high on last year. It played very well, but they didn't have their quarterback there. Same thing All right, I'm going to get off Notre Dame here. I don't think that you are going to be able to stop that Georgia rushing attack. I just don't think that it's going to be enough. This is a game in a very hostile environment. Of course, Notre Dame used to playing in hostile environments. I still think that the Bulldogs get the win in this game. I see you probably winning that game by anywhere from 12 to 21 points. Georgia takes care of Notre Dame at home. Of course, you played them 2 years ago in South Bend, and that was right as you were starting to really blossom into an elite team that year of the 2017 season, beat them by 1 point in South Bend. I think it's a lot easier this year. Get the win over Notre Dame at home. You're on the road at Tennessee after a bye week. This is a team that most everybody thinks will be improved this year. I think they will be improved a bit, maybe a couple of games better. I'm picking Tennessee to maybe go 7-5 this year. They were 5-7 last year. You know, their 2 SEC wins coming in kind of places that, you know, you wouldn't have really expected them to get wins, against a good Kentucky team and then against an Auburn team, which really wasn't that great as far as Auburn teams go, but it was on the road. And then you drop some just head-scratching games in the SEC. I don't think that you've got what it takes to stop Georgia here in this game. I think it will be a good game. I think that Tennessee will play well. But if Georgia's beat up at all after this Notre Dame game and any of these other ones, they've got a week here to rest up before they play you guys. I see Georgia going on the road and going 5-0 against Tennessee. Another game I think will probably be about a 2-touchdown victory. Tennessee can be a tough place to play. It hasn't been that tough of a place to play in, you know, the past 8 to 10 years, but Jeremy Pruitt has got it on the right track. He's recruiting well. It seems like he's running a disciplined program, which I needed up there, and I expect him to continue getting better and better each year. They want to go from winning 5 games to winning 10 games, and which everybody does, but that's just not going to happen. That's going to be a slow build there. That program was in pretty bad shape, but I think they're going to be better this year. Georgia gets the win there and moves to 5-0. South Carolina comes into Athens on the 12th off of a bye week. This is a game last year, a very disappointing game for me. If any of you ever saw the video I made after that game, I was half hot. I really was. Just a really, really piss-poor lack of execution there in the first quarter by us. Played pretty well through the second quarter to bring that thing close at halftime. And in the third quarter, the lack of depth that we had on the defensive side of the ball really showed as Georgia just kind of pushed the ball, and we couldn't recover. Lost 41-17 at home. Looking at 2 years ago, which we went down to Georgia and played one of our better games defensively and played the Bulldogs a lot better than most anybody else in the SEC played them that year. We lost 24-10. That was kind of one of those hashtag moral victory that everybody likes to make fun of, but it was. I mean, it was something that could be built on. It was a positive. We didn't get blown out. This year, you know, I don't know what to expect. Georgia thinks this is an automatic win, and you would think that given their level of experience that it would be a win. And I'm going to say that you're going to win this game and go 6-0, but don't count the Gamecocks out here. Don't count my Gamecocks out. Of the big 3 this year, the Alabama, the Clemson, and the Georgia, I think that this is the game that the Gamecocks have the best chance of winning. And the reason why is the familiarity. They're not familiar with Alabama. Yes, I know what happened back in 2010. It's not 2010 anymore. South Carolina's not beating Alabama this year. We're just not. I don't think we have the speed to match up with those wide receivers that they've got. I think they're going to be in hunt mode this season, angry from the national championship game performance last year. And then the Clemson game is another one that I just think that's another one that I think Alabama will play well, but I don't think that we have the skill position people to match it. We just don't. This is a game that South Carolina could kind of load the box, kind of force you to make some throws. If that passing game is still not clicking here, it could be a situation where it's a very low-scoring defensive type game. I think your defense, you don't like you kind of like those big star type player names that you've had in the past. Like defense, it seems like you always have one player that kind of stands out. You don't have that this year, but I still think that you're going to take the win here. But I'm going to put a watch on this one because I think the Gamecocks go into this game and play very well in Athens, looking to right the wrongs from last year, and so that will go. But you do get the win there. I think the smart money would go on Georgia in that game. Next game, you're at home against Kentucky. People seem to be kind of torn on Kentucky this year. Seems like half the people that are making picks and predictions are picking the Wildcats to kind of fall off the map a little bit this year, maybe head back like a 7-5, 6-6 type season. After the loss of Benny Snell at the running back position, Josh Allen, the rush-in of the defensive line. It was a first-round draft pick. And then you got some that think they're not going to miss a beat. Then you got some people say, well, they got A.J. Rose coming back at running back, and he's just as good as Benny Snell was. Okay? Why ain't you play more last year then? That's what I got to say. I'm kind of in the middle on them. I'm kind of middle on Kentucky. If you kind of look at them, they do have some good skill position players returning. Their wide receiver, Lynn Bowden Jr., is a playmaker. I do think the Rose kid has some talent. I don't think he's the back that Benny Snell was. The quarterback, Terry Wilson, he's going to have to make some throws this year. The guy, he's not going to be able to just run around and not have to throw the ball some this year. He's going to have to utilize the passing game. He does have another couple of receivers. Josh Ali is one there along with Mr. Bowden. However, people aren't talking about the back end of that Kentucky defense. You lost a lot off the back end of that Kentucky defense from last year. And if Georgia does have that passing game clicking by this point in time, that could be a problem. And I also just think depth is going to be a problem. Kentucky is a good team. If you look at them on the sidelines now, it doesn't look like the Kentucky from 10 years ago. 10 years ago when I thought about Kentucky, and I'm not trying to be funny here, I just thought about a bunch of slow white dudes. I really did. And just a basketball school mode, and that football was just kind of a throwaway sport. And now I look at them over there on the sideline. They got some dogs over there, man. They got some dogs over there on the sideline for Kentucky. But you just don't have enough of them. There's not enough depth there. I don't think Kentucky's a team that's just kind of built to reload every single year. So I think you take the win here. If they were going to beat you, I would have thought it would have been last year when they were white hot. But were they? And that team was kind of smoke and mirrors too. Great record, but some really close games and some really piss poor performances against some teams that really weren't that good, but you still got some wins there. Georgia, we're rolling on now, 7-0. Here's where the schedule starts to get a little bit more difficult. We're in Jacksonville against Florida on the 2nd. Felipe Franks, for all who was maligned for his performance in 2017, really came out and played a lot better last year. I don't have his stats right in front of me. I believe he tossed 24 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. He has a core group of wide receivers that are really good. Will they be able to build on that 10-win season from last year? It seems like they got some culture issues in Florida. I don't know that Dan Mullen is the type of guy that's going to get that reined in. It looks like he's kind of letting things get worse before he start getting better. You're going for 3 in a row against them, right? They have won 3 games in a row against you, which is 2014, 15, and 16, and you've beaten them 2017, 18, and you're trying to beat them once again. Actually, the first game of that, like 2014, was a loss to one William Muschamp. Last year's game, you won. I believe the final score there was, I want to say that was a 36-17 win by, yeah, 36-17. In a game which you covered the spread. The spread was only a touchdown there. And, you know, a lot of Georgia fans want to talk about that one, that you blew them out, but you really didn't blow them out. That game was really close into the third quarter. I remember watching that one. You had first and goal, and you had, I don't know how many cracks at the end zone. That Florida defense continued to pound and hold you out. I think this one's going to be close, and I don't think that last year's game is going to be an indication of what this one's going to be like in the fourth quarter. This could be the one. This could be the one where you slip up. However, I just think that Jake Fromm is just a little bit more poised than Felipe Franks. I could see Franks making an interception or throwing an interception, making some kind of mistake here in this game late. Maybe their running back, Michael P. Ryan, maybe fumbles the ball late in the game, and you guys recover it when they're like driving to maybe take a lead or tie the game up. And I think that you take the win here over Florida in Jacksonville. We'll put a watch on that one as well, as that could be a game that goes south for you if you don't come to play. But I think that you get the win here against the Gators and make it 3-0. Then we do have a Carolina Jackpot's messed up here. You do not have a bye week here. What did I do here? I knew I was missing something there. 11-9, you are against the Missouri Tigers, and this is a game at home. Missouri looks to be a dark horse in the SEC East this year. A lot of people predicting to win 8-9 ball games. I could possibly see it happening. Their non-conference schedule is really weak. They open up on the road at Wyoming. They have like a Southeast Missouri State. They play Troy, which is a good team from the non-Power 5, but no match for Missouri. And then they're taking on a West Virginia team that's just totally depleted of talent and skill position players this year. This will be the first time that UGA has actually faced Kelly Bryant. It seems kind of weird. It's not Kelly Bryant was at Clemson forever. But you guys have never faced off against him. I believe he came the year after UGA thumped Clemson in Athens that year in 2014. This could be a stiff test for you guys. I'm not sold on Missouri's defense being that much better than what it was last year, but they have the skill position players. They have Bryant, who's the kind of guy who adds a dimension to that Missouri offense that they haven't normally had in the past. He's a really good dual threat quarterback. Throwing the ball downfield is one of the areas where he struggles. And he's playing with Derek Dooley, offensive coordinator, and everybody makes fun of Derek Dooley because of the debacle of when he was the head coach of Tennessee. But I think the guy is a good offensive mind. I don't know that he's really a great head coach, obviously. But I think he's going to work with Bryant some, and they're working the kinks out there. The bowl game thing for Missouri, that's still up in the air. I don't know why that hadn't been decided yet. I don't see them beating you at home. I will put kind of a watch on it because at the skill positions, once again, they're very talented. Bryant returned back. The running back, Larry Roundtree, is like a 1,500-yard rusher from last year, and somebody that you really just don't hear about a lot. But I expect to see some big things from him. Their tight end, Albert Okum, I can't say his name. Everybody just calls him Albert O. Probably a first-team All-American. So this will be a tough test for you. I still expect to take the win over Missouri at home in this game. If this one was on the road, I'd be a little bit more up in the air about it. You've played Missouri every year since they've been in the SEC. They came in 2012. You've only lost to them once, which was in 2013, but you have had some close games against them, close calls. On the road at Auburn on the 16th of November. Last year, you beat them 27-10 at home. They're off of a bye week, and a lot of people are actually picking this to be Georgia's loss this year that I've looked at. It's kind of like they think that they have to pick a regular season loss for you guys because you had one last year. So we're just automatically, we have it in our brain that we have to find one this year. I can't find a loss here. I really can't. Their defensive line is really good. Their entire defense is really good. But your offensive line is very strong. I expect you to be able to run the ball against Auburn, despite the fact that they have probably one of the top 3 defensive lines in the country coming back. They always just seem to have, they just never seem to have it together down there. I mean, they go from one extreme to the other. I don't see them being locked in enough to beat you guys. The quarterback position, I haven't paid a lot of attention to what's been going on in their fall camp. I know it was between Joey Gatewood and the other young man down there, which, gosh, I made a video on them forever ago. And it's hard for Carolina Jackpot when I don't have these notes written down in full to even remember some of these people's names. Bo Nix. Don't know who's going to get the nod down there, but I just think that you're going to take care of business against this team. I don't think that Auburn this year is as good as that LSU team was last year. I think that team was, I think offensively they had just a little bit more of a punch than what this year's Auburn team has had. I don't see it. Now, these two we could figure out a starting quarterback down there. They could get that Gus Malzahn offense rolling. Who knows? The team could be coming in there undefeated playing you guys. I mean, it is just a toss-up with them. But I'm going to go with my best instinct, and I'm going to say that I think Georgia gets the win here against Auburn on the road. I will put a watch on that one because it's a tough one. But, I mean, we don't need to let 2018 determine what 2019 is going to do. Don't let 2018 determine what 2019 is going to do. Just because you fouled up on the road against an SEC West team last year doesn't mean that you're going to do it this year. I think learning from experience is very important, and I think you guys get the win here. Texas A&M, you're at home against them, and that's what I'm talking about. This schedule is tough. I mean, this stretch right here, these 4 games, these are key. I don't know of a lot of teams that could go through that slate undefeated. Say maybe Alabama. That's about the only one in the SEC that I could think of. I would think everybody else would take a loss there somewhere. Texas A&M, playing these guys at home. Y'all have never met in SEC play. Last time you did meet was 2009 in some bowl game, which I cannot remember what that was. I saw it yesterday. They actually had the number 3 run defense in the country last year. Problem is, they haven't replaced a lot of those players this year. Their pass defense, however, was atrocious. And they're still having to get that fine-tuned as well. So if your passing game is going by this point in the season, you should know what you are as far as your pass game goes. You can exploit them and score on these guys. I think it's going to be a tough test. However, they have to replace the best running back, in my opinion, from last year in the SEC, in Travion Williams. I don't know that they're going to be able to do it this year. Kellen Mond is a talented quarterback, but that defense of yours, I think, will be able to take care of him. You're going to be able to take care of business here. I think this will be a close game. Could be a 7 to 10 point type game late in the season. Everybody's beat down and wore out, but I think you get the win against Texas A&M at home. And that one we'll put a watch on as well. So we got 5 games here that we're going to put a watch on, which are ones I think could go the other way if things don't go well for Georgia. But I think you get the win here against Texas A&M. I just don't think they've got the defense to compete with you guys. Not a slight on Texas A&M. I think they are getting better under Jimbo Fisher than what they were in the Kevin Sumlin regime. But it's just going to take a little bit more time, a little bit more recruiting from them down there. And then, of course, the last game of the season, you're on the road taking on Georgia Tech. Who knows what they'll be, by this point in the season. A lot of people are discounting them because of the fact that, they're installing a new offense. But, I mean, these are college-level kids. I mean, when you get to that level, when you're playing college football at a Power 5 school, I mean, you have a little bit of intelligence to where, I mean, and it's not just like Paul Johnson left yesterday. Okay, they knew that this was coming, and this happened way back in December of last year. And so the wheels have been in motion and placed, and I would think that the kids that are there from Paul Johnson regime would be very excited to be trying to play in a more wide open offense, a more spread option type thing. I think Jeff Collins is going to implement like the spread option type offense to kind of ease the transition a little bit. But I think these players are going to be excited to play in it. Georgia Tech defense, never really salty, but it's never really terrible. I could see this team winning 5 or 6 games this year, but I mean, this is not going to be one of them. I mean, you're just way too good there. That one shouldn't be close. That should be at least a 21 to 30 point victory on the road to close the season out. But other people, just keep an eye on Georgia Tech. I don't have time to do a full preview and breakdown on them, but I think they're going to be a little bit better than what people are giving them credit for this year. So if we look that out entirely, the schedule, I'm putting you at 12-0. I mean, I don't feel like I'm going out on a limb here. Vegas has you at 11 wins. Some places it's 11.5. I'm putting you at 12-0. I mean, some of these games here are possible slip-ups. Now, I even put a watch on this one. I mean, Notre Dame is a talented team. I mean, it could happen if you really play badly. The South Carolina, losing to them is it's not likely, but it could happen. Florida in Jacksonville and on the road at Auburn, to me, are the 2 places where you stand the most chance of slipping up. Scratch that. I think that you would slip up here against Texas A&M because you're worn out from these previous 3 weeks before you lose to Auburn, to be honest with you. It's not a slide on Auburn. That's just the way I see it. But those are your best chances of losses, and they're just not. It's really hard to find losses here on the schedule for Georgia. And despite the fact that you don't have a lot of receiver quality coming back, I have no doubt that will be taken care of and addressed throughout this portion of the schedule. And by the time you get to this portion of the schedule, things will start humming for you. I got Georgia going 12-0 this year. There's my honest assessment on it, guys. 2019, I expect the Georgia Bulldogs to go 12-0 and go undefeated. That's my best scenario that I can come up with. I cannot find the losses on that schedule. They're just not coming to me. Some of you Georgia fans probably not going to like it, but I do think that your best chance at a loss on that slate is the world's largest outdoor cocktail party against the Florida Gators. I think that's going to be a very close game, but I still think you pull that one out. 12-0 is what I think the Bulldogs will go this year. Despite the fact that you have had some losses on both sides of the ball, I think that the 2018 number 1 recruiting class, 2019 number 2 recruiting class, it's going to take up for that. I mean, you're just continuing to do what you've been doing, and that's win. I think Georgia, will go to the SEC championship game and take on either Alabama or LSU. I'm very high on LSU this year. I've put them down as an 11-1 team with their only loss to Alabama. Can they break the curse? Can they come out on top of Bama this year? That remains to be seen, but I do see the Georgia Bulldogs as the representative from the SEC East in the SEC championship game, and the likely record when they go in there is 12-0. That concludes this one, guys. If you like this video, please hit it with a thumbs up. Please hit me with a subscription, and please share the video. I cannot tell you how much it means to me when you share these videos and get them out there. There's got to be some reason why that Nebraska video is way up at almost 10,000 views right now. Why that LSU video, why that thing is hitting up over 5,000 views right now. But then, meanwhile, while my Miami video is lagging back at like 300 views right now. There's got to be some reason why somebody shared it to the right place to share those videos. Share them to Twitter. Share them to your Facebook. Share them to your groups. Do whatever you got to do. Let's get the Carolina Jackpot word out there and get it cracking, because I'm telling you, you're going to want to make sure that your friends are part of this channel when the season actually gets started and we start doing those pick and prediction videos. I'll see y'all later. Peace, and I'm out. Spurs up till my toes up. See y'all later. Woo! Go Cox!